Hi, my name is Joanna Whitney. I am an intuitive artist, a student of natural law, and an energy healer. And I'm going to continue with my study of the Kybalion and natural law and my experience. And I'm going to go back actually because this may happen several times. I just felt like I left some things out. So I'm going to go back to part of the first principle, the principle of mentalism, and then I'm going to go into the principle of correspondence on page 16 in the Kybalion. Again, the reason why I am discussing the Kybalion right now is because I have a strong intuitive sense that we all individually have the capacity and the power to make changes in the world through spiritual and mental practice, if we so choose. And personally, I use prayer constantly, and it helps me with everything that I have to deal with personally. But there's things going on that are affecting more than just me. Like for me personally, chemtrails is a horrible daily reality that I face, and praying hasn't been sufficient to give me any power over that. But I have found power using certain mental techniques regarding chemtrails. I've literally experienced rubbing chemtrails out of the sky with my index finger while using certain mental techniques, but it's inconsistent. I've done it quite a few times, but it is inconsistent, and I'm not sure what I'm missing on the times that it doesn't work. But I'm quite sure that it has to do with me taking hold of my thoughts and concentration. So with that said, that is the motivation behind my seeking back into ancient principles and techniques right now. There's so many things going on in the world that are being enacted by order followers that are causing deep harm to our environment, that I just feel I want to just bring this out into the world, for other people to consider. And I didn't mention in the last video that I rely on prayer. Also, I'm not interested in bringing in any negative demonic forces. I'm not interested in that. I'm also a person who is not sure about the origin of a lot of the entities that people seek help from. For example, angels. The suffix of the word angel is EL. And I'm not sure whether or not in the Old Testament, the entity that is considered quote unquote God is always God. Sometimes it seems like it might be an alien like Enlil, an Anunnaki alien, seems like. And some of the ancient texts referred to angels, and the Kabbalah refers to the Elohim, Elohim, angel. And then we have the elites, the elite, globalists. So all this information comes from my study of Zecharia Sitchin's work and Mark Passio's Cosmic Abandonment series, where I've concluded that a lot of times, maybe even King Solomon, brought in entities from some other dimension that may or may not be friendly. And even, I think the guy's name is John Baines in The Stellar Man, wrote about how he thought that Moses called in an entity called Yazaboeth, I believe its name is, that it's a dark spirit, and that helped Moses to get the Jews out of slavery, but that it inhabited earth as part, so that the earth spirit was then divided between Yazaboeth's spirit and its own spirit, so that Jesus was supposed to even that score. There's all kinds of stuff out there you can read about. And so, yeah, that got me to thinking, because I've always thought that the creation story or the Adam and Eve story didn't make sense to me at all, and that it makes much more sense to me that we were created by part alien, part hominid species, because of how we don't really fit here. We can't really exist here unless we exist the way the Native Americans did, or other Native peoples figured out ways to do it. But in our society, we are destroying our own planet for our survival. And so that to me tells me that we weren't originally from here, partially. So why do I bring all this up now? I'm very careful about who I call in. I'm not interested in calling in any extraterrestrial entities or interdimensional entities to help me with this stuff. I don't seek help from angels, because I'm not sure whether they're really from the creator, or whether they're assistants to Enlil and Enki. I'm not interested in seeking any assistance from Enlil and Enki, because from my studying, they seem to have violated natural law, the natural law of the hominid, and created humans as a slave race. So I'm not gonna count them as beings that I want to enlist help from. So I'm very careful about that. However, the principles brought forward by Hermes Trismegistus in the Kybalion seem to be helpful principles. And that's why I am looking into them more carefully right now. But when it comes to getting assistance, I ask for assistance from the creator of the universe, the creator of Earth. And I also have received help from Jesus Christ myself, but I don't consider myself Christian or someone who believes in the Bible, because again, I believe in my studies, it seems that the Bible has been translated by people who have an agenda, and changed by other people who have an agenda. And so I have to figure it out for myself, figure things out for myself, and using natural law, spiritual principles of natural law, do unto others as I would have others do unto me. Spiritual principles of honesty, integrity, keeping my word, minding my own business, not gossiping or slandering other people, trying not to cause harm to other sentient beings and other people. I have a pantheist view of Earth and everything on Earth, that it's all imbued with spirit. So I just wanted to say all that, because I never did bring all that up in the beginning of this study that I'm doing, and I'm doing the study live here on YouTube because it's easier for me to do this sort of thing with other people or for other people. Otherwise, I might just read half the book and stop. But I mean, I might get really great comments and really inspiring ideas from people's comments. And so that's pretty much my motivation behind why I'm doing this right now. And so I'm going to go back here again and read. An understanding of the great Hermetic principle of mentalism enables the individual to readily grasp the laws of the mental universe and to apply the same to his well-being and advancement. So not only about each individual's well-being and advancement nowadays, now I'm interested in the well-being and advancement of the world, the earth, the mother, the animals, the elemental spirits, everything here on earth that's being harmed by the order followers of the elite who seem to be trying to kill off the free things that are free, animals that are free. I do a lot of work with rescued Mustangs. I do a lot of my energy healing work with rescued Mustangs. And I know that horses can often be healers. You can research that if you want. And the torture of the horses, is a result of people who buy in, who are like a low frequency vibration person who thinks that they need a job working for the Bureau of Land Management. And because they're violating the freedom of these animals, these beautiful, spiritual, evolved animals, somehow they feel that they have the right to bully them. I mean, I can relate to this, honestly. Having been bullied as a kid, I then went on to bully others. So they bully these animals, and now the animals are extremely traumatized, and they're being, this has been going on since the 70s, but more so nowadays, because I guess the government wants the land for whatever reason. I mean, they want us to eat bugs, but they claim it's for cattle, cattle grazing or whatever. It's all lies, I'm sure, but they just don't want the wild horses to be living on this land. And so they round them up in the Sandwash Basin in Utah, and some of them die there. They never get adopted. And they're bullied and treated, used, cattle prods are used on them, and they're all sorts of stuff. So to me, this is what I'm interested in, is and I don't want to feel victimized by the elites, and I don't want to feel like my only course of action is through the court system, which to me is completely corrupt. So I'm interested in using these principles to stand up for the Earth's freedom as well as our own freedom. The Hermetic student is enabled to apply intelligently the great mental laws instead of using them in a haphazard manner. Okay, so I may use them in a haphazard manner. I was thinking about it. I probably do use them in a haphazard manner. I'm not really sure. I did challenge everyone to start a meditation practice, and I gave instructions for how to do that very simple meditation practice last time. But there's also so many other mental exercises that one can do. Once you've been meditating for a while, you can also employ so many other types of mental exercises to take a hold of your mind and to balance the left and right brain, which has been polarized. We've all been polarized through programming into the left or right brain. me personally as an artist have been polarized into the right brain, and I've had to work very hard to bring my left brain into balance with my right brain, which I continue to do. But there's so many other techniques of visualization, using your imagination, which is a huge force of manifestation, which has been occulted. It's been occulted just subtly, where people are accused of, oh, that's just your imagination, whereas the imagination is a huge manifestation tool, which I discussed last week, with regards to green language. And then there's other very important mentalist techniques. And the mentalism, if you look up the word mentalism, you'll find magic tricks, people who do magic tricks, and do illusion tricks on people. That's what the mainstream believes mentalism is. And there's certain people that are born with mentalist gifts, like the ability to bend forks with their mind. But if those people, instead of trying to seek financial gain, would use their gifts for the highest good, wow, I mean, I can only imagine the great things they could do. And I also know from reading these books, which I will be talking about later, and maybe also listing in the description, that we can all learn these techniques. It just requires commitment and discipline, and really, really knowing that we each have the power and the ability to change the world for the better. And it's very, very negative to, like, for me, to walk outside and see a bunch of chemtrails and be mad about it and feel victimized about it. I'm done with that. So I'm at a point now where I'm going to find a way to get rid of them in my neighborhood, because they're basically violating my natural law rights to a clean lair. I have an inalienable right to a lair, and they're violating my lair. They're violating my rights by being order followers. And so I can return them to sender and say that they're violating my rights, and command that they disappear. That is within my rights. And so the thing is each one of us individually does have to come into an understanding of that. Mark Passio talks about this. Can't remember where it is. It's in the early podcast. He talks about if there's only two people on earth, me and another person, and how I would respond to another person violating my rights. I have to stand up and use force, because they're using violence upon me by flying in my airspace and disseminating those horrible chemicals, those heavy metals, into my airspace. So, I have to use force against their violence. I have that right. And so however I need to use that force. I don't believe that, filing an injunction against the cloud seeding companies is really the most effective use of my force. I believe that I can do it through mentalism. If everything is energy, I have the ability within my mind to be able to do that, I believe. So that's what I'm talking about here. And I'm just using that as an example. Everybody has their own crusade, their own things that they find objectionable at this point, and we should all be out there doing, I mean, I shouldn't say we all should or whatever, but I just want to encourage everyone to embody their true feelings about what's going on in the world and take some action towards participating in using your rights against the violence that's being imposed upon you. So yes, in other words, they're saying that instead of using these in a haphazard manner, well, we'll see. Maybe they're gonna give me what I need to know to not use them in a haphazard manner. Hopefully, I hope that's true. But if I take it upon myself to start to meditate and start to do mental exercises, memory exercises, building, there's a Rosicrucian exercise of building a mind castle to remember things in. You can find that. I think I'll put it in the description. These are things that people used to do. Remember me, I'm 61 years old, so I used to memorize everybody's phone number, which I can't now, but I'm sure I could do it if I put my mind to, if it wasn't in my cell phone, so memory, visualization, and other mental exercises to take a hold of my mind and balance my brain so that I'm not polarized and not addicted to the internet. So these things, once we reclaim our power mentally, then we can do all sorts of things to ensure our freedom and the earth, respect for the earth, and our stewardship of the earth. Okay, so with the master key in his possession, the student may unlock the many doors of the mental and psychic temple of knowledge and enter the same freely and intelligently. This principle explains the true nature of energy, power, and matter, and why and how all these are subordinate to the mastery of the mind. So if all is energy, I'm going to just take an example of Jesus walking on water. And I'm not a big Bible person, but this is the most, this or Tony Robbins fire walking. This is another one, which I haven't actually done, but I can imagine this. And I've actually used this, the Jesus walking on water thing, and Peter starting out to walk on water with his eyes focused on Jesus and then falling into the ocean when he realized that he was walking on water. I have experienced this, and I know this is about a mental focus where I don't allow myself to recognize fear or have an opposing thought. And I believe that's what they're talking about here, because once I have developed the ability to focus my attention on the truth that all is energy, and that I can decide that I'm going to walk on water and have no second thoughts about that, then I could walk on water. I'm sure I could, just the way people have walked across those burning coals and not had their feet be burned. But this is going to require extreme mental focus. And there's other ways to learn that these days, like, learning how to draw is a one way to learn focus and concentration. But you really do have to not have any other, like, you're not listening to music. You're just focusing all of your attention to the modified contour drawing that you're drawing. The way that the elites are, what they're doing right now is they're trying to make us be double-minded, which I talked about in the last video. And if you're double-minded, you could never do this sort of concentration exercise where you walk across the flaming coals. Because you have to be single-minded to do that. You have to have figured out a way to not allow that second-guessing part of your mind to say, but it's going to burn me. It's going to burn me. You have to have that. This requires great concentration. So you have to use concentration exercises to be able to learn how to do stuff like this. And I think that's what they're talking about here. One of the old Hermetic masters wrote long ago, "He who grasps the truth of the mental nature of the universe is well advanced on the path to mastery." So, you could just allot certain amount of time every day to meditation and then another amount of time to a concentration exercise. That's what I am presently doing right now. And then I'm going to advance into other types of mental exercises. I actually have a few disabilities, and so I'm not sure that I am going to be able to do what they are talking about. I might be able to. I actually ordered some colloidal gold, and I'm going to try taking colloidal gold for a while to see if I can repair the damage to my brain that happened to me. I don't know if it happened like due to vaccine injury when I was a child or whether I was born with it. I have some diseases in my family that are inherited that involve different kind of brain issues. So I don't know whether I can make a reparation to these issues. But I'm still going to put it out there for those of you who don't have that and who can quickly and easily learn, or not quickly and easily, but have the discipline to be able to learn these different exercises so that you could, maybe sign up for Tony Robbins and see if you can walk across burning coals without burning your feet. Because that is what this is about. That's an exercise about that, about understanding that matter is nothing more than energy. And once you understand that mentally, that's how you can change things, because you can say, using the words, using the power of the spoken word and commanding, using names that are an authority, that things are not as they were before. I'll be talking way more about this later on, and I have books to back me up on it too. But again, there's all different levels of us here on Earth right now. There's the masters, the people who can actually do this stuff, and maybe they're Rosicrucians. The Rosicrucian order, when I was looking through their website, they have classes in all of this stuff. So that would be a good way to go if you wanted to do that. And then, people like me, I'm just going to be trying different things until I maybe get it right for myself, because I do have these disabilities. But it doesn't matter. Just try it. Just try, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm in all these different groups where a lot of people act like they're already, Superman mind or whatever. But how I would know that was true is that we wouldn't be in the state of enslavement and pollution right now with extreme chemicals, because these people would wake up and realize that they need to practice this for the betterment of all. So I don't know where people are really at, if they're just all talk or whether there are people out there who know how to do this besides, people in the CIA. I don't know. All right, so, and these words are as true today as at the time they were first written. Without the master key, mastery is impossible, and the student knocks in vain at the many doors of the temple. Okay, I'm going to move on now. I am going to say, I don't feel like I knock in vain in the many doors of the temple, because I've read this book all the way to the end, and I already I have mastered some of these things that are considered mastery, which I was pretty astonished by. But I am, I've been studying this stuff for like 30 years, not, through different schools, I'll say. So number 2, the principle of correspondence. As above, so below, as below, so above. The Kybalion. This principle embodies the truth that there is always a correspondence between the laws and phenomena of the various planes of being and life. The old Hermetic axiom ran in these words: as above, so below; as below, so above. And the grasping of this principle gives one the means of solving many a dark paradox hidden secret of nature. There are planes beyond our knowing, but when we apply the principle of correspondence to them, we are able to understand much that would otherwise be unknowable to us. So how I have learned about this is just by observing other people. For example, if someone is dishonest in one area of their life, they are therefore dishonest. As above, so below. For myself, I see this constantly. Or if let's say with my situation with chemtrails, like I imagine that because I am taking action, this sort of action right now, that other people are also around the globe. I'm not the only one doing this. And by taking matters into my own hands and not thinking of myself as just one little person that has no effect on the big world, by taking the matters into my hands and saying, I am one of two people on earth. There's only two of us, me and that other person who's violating my rights. I may not see the results in the macrocosm, but I'm going to operate in my microcosm, knowing that the principle of correspondence is going to reflect that back to me somehow. And I right now, I just don't actually have that many examples, but maybe more will come to me. And that's when I'll probably do an addendum to this video. But this is what gives us the power, us people, us individuals, the power to make change, is that if I operate in my microcosm and make changes, those changes will be reflected back to me in the macro. So creating order in my microcosm and treating others the way that I want to be treated in my microcosm is going to be reflected back in the macrocosm. This principle is of universal application and manifestation on the various planes of the material, mental, and spiritual universe. It is an universal law. The ancient Hermetists considered this principle as one of the most important mental instruments by which man was able to pry aside the obstacles which hid from view the unknown. Its use even tore aside the veil of Isis to the extent that a glimpse of the face of the goddess might be caught. Just as a knowledge of the principle of geometry enables man to measure distant suns and their movements while seated in his observatory, so a knowledge of the principle of correspondence enables man to reason intelligently from the known to the unknown. Studying the monad, he understands the archangel. I know that I'm going to get a lot more information about this. I definitely just use this all the time. And I think that, at least for right now, that's all really I have to say about it. But as above, so below; as within, so without. As within, so without means to me that when I'm pointing the finger at you, I have three fingers pointing back at me. So I have to change myself in order for me to see what I want to see out there. And that's pretty difficult, honestly, for me to surrender to right now. Like, I would love to just blame everybody out there for being stupid. And but this happened on my watch. I was here when this all started happening, everything that's going on right now. And so what I have to do is I have to come inside myself into a singular understanding of unity consciousness, which is the mentalism. The mentalism, and interestingly, yeah, this brings up something that I can talk about. Okay, so mentalism is in unity. And the following 6 principles are principles that govern duality. So the law of correspondence is as within, so without. It's 2. Okay. And so I have to work on my own self in order to have that which I want reflected back to me. I also have to sow what I want to reap. And again, going back to mentalism, I'm working on taking a hold of my mental wild hairs that have my own self. I myself have become mentally weak as a result of depending on the internet and my phone and all that stuff. And my concentration is way off from where it used to be. So I'm going to be working on that, and I'll see how that gets reflected back to me from the macrocosm. See you next time.